Might try something else and see. I don't have to like put headphones, do I? It should automatically because I'm plugged in. So let's see how this works out. No. Hmm. Hmm. No. This. It's all tangled up. And I don't even know if this gonna work. Had to go to the old-fashioned ways. Let's see. Hey, can you hear me?
I I
Okay,
can.
great. Now the next question is, can you guys hear me and Tanisha? Can we get a thumbs up? Because I hear no echoing right now, so that's a plus. So I just need to make sure the viewers can hear us. Alan, can you hear us?
Can you? Are you watching? Go on.
Okay, good. Yes, he said great. All right, so I do apologize for all the technical difficulties. Hopefully the viewers will come back on. So Tanisha, I was telling them
My phone's dead.
a little bit that you're a motivational speaker, a mentor, and then you have a life story to tell. So just give us a little information about yourself, and then just go into your spiel. And of course, I wouldn't mind asking a few questions, if you don't mind. So introduce yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. Hopefully, we can get through this without any more technical difficulty. But my name is Tanisha, and I'm really excited to do this. Five boys. I'm a boy mom, and I'm 33 years old. Life has been for me. I felt like I remember at one point in life, I was just like, God, this is just not fair. Why do I feel like since young, to when I can remember, like maybe 6, 7 years old, why life has always been so hard for me. I feel like as a kid we shouldn't have any worries. We should just be kids. We should be worrying about school and having fun, and just until it's time to really start to, take
Right.
responsibilities. So I remember, so at a young age I feel like I felt and I knew everything that was going on. Again, as a kid, you should not, like, my father my father went to prison when I was about 3. Obviously at 3 I don't remember, but I actually remember things from about 4. He went to prison and he did a really long bid, um, about 10 years. My mom went to jail when I was about 6. Um, Even rewind a little bit, um, grandmother took care of me. My grandmother took over because my mom was 19, but she also struggled
Okay.
with drugs at an early age. I was born, so so my grandparents took, and my mom and dad were like dibbling dabbling in drugs, and my
Oh,
dad was also a
okay.
drug dealer. So for that, to me, when my my life, I'm like, wow, I was like really, to for me, crack epidemic, go through all of that as such. I was not even, a day old in our face and all of that. know. So that's that. And then my mom, as I grew up, my grandparents raised me, and then my mom jail. My dad went to jail. She got 10 years. My mom went to jail, 7 years. So continued to raise me in North New Jersey. So again, North New Jersey was known as one of the, I would say, the toughest cities. A lot of the crime rate was very high. There was, killings every single day. We lived in obviously a urban area, so with that alone, it was a lot. I remember seeing things at a young age that no one my age should have ever seen. I've seen people I've seen violence at an all-time high. I remember being in a store when I was about 5 years old, and the store was being robbed. And I remember hiding in this down in this where the owner kept all the beer
No.
and everything to avoid being seen. And that happened in Irvington, New Jersey.
Wow.
After that last incident, my grandmother said, no more. We have to get the kids out of here. We have to move. So I then moved to Phillipsburg, New Jersey. The time in the early 90s, obviously
Right.
racism is still going on, but it was really racist back then. We lived right down the street from people who had Confederate
Mm.
flags, KKKs, things like that. We never, me and my siblings, we didn't know anything about that because we were Black and we moved to our predominantly white town,
Right.
but we didn't know about racism. We were only 6 and 6, 3, 2. We were four. There was 5 of us that my grandmother ended up raising. That my mom was just having back to back, and we didn't know. So when we would go down the street and we would see white people, and they in disgust, or we'd see people with skinheads, and they would tell us, "Oh, skinheads, you stay away from
Mm.
those. They don't like Black people." It was it was really rough. And then when we went to school, we were the only
Oh, wow.
Black kids there. So it was a culture shock. We go from being in schools where it's
Right.
all Blacks, maybe a few Puerto Ricans, no whites, mainly Black and Hispanics, Dominican, Haitian, African, to
Predominantly white.
being
Wow.
6 Blacks in a school. Yeah. So that was a culture shock. I think we did our best to try to fit in. I started to experience racism at the age of 6. So that was
If you
pretty
don't mind
rough.
me asking, what happened with
Um,
that? Like,
and
how
then
did you even know at that young age it was racism? Like, was it something that dramatic or traumatizing that happened? If you
So my grandmother told me. So I would come home and I'd tell her situations or something that happened to me, or the teachers were always being really harsh to me, or always being down on, being down at me. And my grandmother said, "They're racist," just like that. And I'm like, "Well, what's that?" And she's like, "They don't like Black people. They don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you succeed. They don't want it to explain to me." And I remember feeling so hurt, I'm just a kid. Why would a teacher, an adult, not want to see me win? Why would a
right,
teacher be so mean to me? Why would a teacher be so and treat me different from these
right.
other kids? If I remember one incident. I was in 4th grade. I forgot my homework. Now, mind you, as a teacher, you don't really know what's going on
Home.
in
Right.
a child's home. So I think you should be, kind of flexible, or kind of pull me to the side if you feel like I'm always all over the place, or maybe seem unprepared, or unorganized. You don't know what's going on. Maybe I can't afford it. Maybe, I'm going through a trauma at home So anyway, the teacher said to me, "Tanesha, where's your homework?" And I go, "Oh, I was running out." Now, mind you, I had to walk. They didn't have buses back then. So I literally, this is no exaggeration, I had to walk, I want to say, about 12
Wow.
blocks to school. So imagine me having to be 8 o'clock. How long would you think that it would take a 9-year-old to get up, get dressed? My
Oh, wow.
grandparents didn't walk me because my grandmother, she would be home with my other siblings. So we would have to bunch up and walk, or sometimes up where mom would say, "Hey, I'm just
Right,
trying to
right.
give you guys a picture." So I would have to walk 12 and all types of weather to school. I forgot my homework, and my 4th grade teacher said to me, "How could you forget your homework again? You're
What?
such a dodo bird." And I was like, a dodo bird, but that's like the dumbest bird in the world. Like, you know, like they have like a really small, you know, brain, birds in general, but especially a dodo bird, you know, I
Right.
did remember that. And I
Wow.
was like, I remember hurting my feelings and I decided to stand up for myself. I said, you called me I said, wait, did you just call me a dodo bird?
Right.
That's a dumb
Right.
bird.
Wow.
And she looked at me like, I was like, I'm going to tell my grandmother that you called me dumb. I'm going to tell my mom. I'm going to tell my dad. I went like, I stood up for myself. I just went off on her. And she then was scared for
Right.
her job. She then didn't report me. She came to me, tried to talk to me, tried to talk nice to me. Long story short, she was like my best friend to the end of the year. And then even after, I think it was that moment where I called
Right.
her out on her BS and and made her
Right.
realize she was
Right.
being
Exactly.
racist to me. And I think she felt, I think, I genuinely feel, now, I mean, she was trying to save her job, and I think at one point it was a turning point for her. And I think that she realized she was being very unfair to me. And it wasn't until she asked to speak to me to the side after school, and she found out, you know, little things about me, like I was writing every
Yeah.
day to, you know, to mail them out and things like that. She found out a little bit of my history. She was asking me questions, and I think she really, really
Right.
ate her own crap. And I think time and she was nice to me, but that was my very first time
Racist.
experiencing racism out. It was very loud.
Mm.
It was very loud, very broad, and child, I just stood up for myself. I'm like, I'm not
Right.
going to take this from them. You know, now that my grandmother told me what it was, I'm like, oh no, they're not going to treat me different,
That's
you know?
horrible.
So that's kind of how that was. Yeah, it was horrible. It was. And I stood up for myself every single time. Every single time. I had another incident in sixth grade where a kid
Mm.
called me a nigger. And I was like, if you ever call me a nigger again, I will kill you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm just a kid. I wasn't
Did
talking
you
like
get
I
in
was really
trouble
going to
for
kill
that?
him. I meant like fight him. That was like tomboyish.
Mm.
I did. He did. Got in trouble. Not only did I get in trouble, I got charged for terroristic
Wow.
threats. Charged for terroristic threats and fined and
Oh my
drug
God. As
court.
a sixth grader.
And
Oh
I
my
was only in sixth
gosh.
grade. And I was only in sixth grade.
So
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
of
My
is that
grandmother
some of
had
the
to
reasons
pay.
that you want to mentor, you know, and be a role model for other children based upon what you went through, what you've seen? That's a lot, Tanisha, in just these few minutes that you shared.
Actually knew that I wanted to be a mentor
Okay.
at the age of 13. I said, I said, I'm going to help children. I'm going to be, I'm going to help children figure this out. I don't want kids to grow up and not be aware of
Right.
what's going on around them and not know how to navigate through things and not know how to um I want them to be able to identify the feelings that they're going through, the
Right.
emotions that they're going through. For me, growing up, I was very lost. I couldn't identify anything that I was going through. I didn't know that I was depressed. I didn't know that I was looking for love in all the wrong places because of feeling abandoned by my parents. And I was the oldest out of
Hmm.
my siblings, so my grandparents gave a lot of love to them, not trying to take it from me, but I was very independent, thinking like, you know what, she's a girl, she's independent, she's very helpful. They need more love, they're
Right. Right.
smaller, you know? So I think I lacked a lot of love. I didn't get the typical I love you every day, maybe a couple times a day. I didn't get a tuck in bed. I didn't, you know, I didn't get a
Hmm.
how would you get those things. And I don't think that my
Right.
grandparents intentionally didn't do that. I just think that they themselves were going through a lot. My grandfather was sick. He had diabetes. He had where
Hmm.
his kidneys were failing. So he was really, really sick, but he still tried to work. My grandmother had to quit her job as a dental assistant, and she was also going further in the medical field to take care of us. So I just feel now as an adult, I can kind of
Right.
see what
Right.
went on. They also battled with their own addiction. My grandmother got clean when I was about 10. Um, but she did also deal with an addiction, but she was more of a, I would say, like
Mm-hmm.
a
That's, yeah,
functioning
I hear that a
addict.
lot.
Like she was able to party during the
Go to
weekdays and she was able to do those things, but she was still able to cook and clean and take care of us and,
Right. Did that ever
provide.
make you feel, with mom and dad
Yes.
and grandparents, struggling with addiction or some type of addiction? Did it ever make you feel like you're a burden, or do you think they did this because of children? Did it ever make you feel some type of way? Did it make you question you?
Yes. So it did. When I reached teenage stage, I felt as that I was a burden. I felt as though, oh, maybe my parents could just come home and get their stuff together. I can relieve my grandparents of me because they were trying to take care of me, but I also was like
Right.
a damaged child. There were so many questions, there were so many things going on. So I gave them a hard time. I feel that I gave them a hard time because I wasn't the typical child that you could just say whatever to or tell me to do whatever. I had
Okay.
questions, and then I also was trying to be the protect my brothers and sisters. I had siblings that I also tried to protect.
Right.
So again, back to the mentor at 13, I remember sitting in my room and I said, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna have an organization. This is before like things were really popular. I don't It's funny when I think about it, like, wow, I really thought of this at 13 because I felt like if I could just make it through, I'm definitely going to tell my
Right.
story and I just want to help others. I just want to help other kids not get to the point because to be honest, I fought life so hard and I kept going through it, kept going through it, kept going through it. And I didn't start to like grasp it and really change my life until about 22. It was a
And when you
long
say
road.
change your life, you mean as far as speaking back and not letting people say certain things to you? When you say change your life, what do you mean?
I always spoke back and I've always been like a tough cookie, but I guess I
Okay.
dealt with depression and I also dealt with post traumatic stress disorder that they
Mm-hmm.
recognize it now, but according to my therapist, I've had it at a young age because I went
Right.
through a lot of trauma. My mom, when they were for my mom and they took my mom, they
Mm.
came on a helicopter. They took my mom. It was all over there was like a reward
Oh,
for my
wow.
mom's arrest. So I went through seeing that. My mom was like on TV, and there was a lot. It was a lot. So I was only like 5 when they took my. I was like 5 going on 6 when they came in and bust down the door, and so what the therapist explained to me is that the trauma that I experienced caused my depression, anxiety, and I've had it for so long, and I channeled it for so long without knowing that I had it. I didn't go and seek help until I was about
Oh,
26,
wow.
27. But at 22, I was arrested. And when I went to prison, is when I was like sitting and I was thinking, and it all hit me. Everything, I think it was like not, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to go to prison. I
Right.
wouldn't wish that on anyone. It's definitely, but for me, it was the breaking point. For me, open my eyes because I had no choice but to sit
Ooh.
for 18 months.
How did you
And I
handle that?
was
Like,
to it was rough. At 22, I'd already had 3 children. And it was really, I think the toughest part was leaving them.
mm,
It really was a tough part for me. I didn't think that I would be able to do it just for the fact that I would miss my children. I didn't think that anyone could raise my
right.
children or treat my children the way I did. I know what I went through as an abandoned child. So I feel like my children would go through it. I was so scared my children
Right.
would be, mistreated somehow or whatever. So it was rough for me. And every time I think about it, the first 30 days was the hardest. But after I got over those 30 days, I realized this is God sitting
Mm-hmm.
me down to look at my life from the outside in. And I was able to do that. So when I was released, I was a force to be reckoned with, because I said, okay, I got this. I know what happened. This happened. I know what's going on. I know manipulation. I
Right.
knew so much. I did research. I went back to school. I did so much, and I realized everything that I went through was for a reason. And but one important thing that I realized is that what I went through was only 10%. The 90% out of 100, 90% is how I perceived it and
Right.
how I acted off of it. Because I went through things, but because I didn't know how to handle it, I think they lasted longer, and it took a deeper effect on me because I didn't know
Right.
what I was
Right.
going through.
This
So I
it
felt,
takes a
yeah,
strong individual to, be who you are today and go through as much as you went through from a young child even to age 22. So I am a strong believer that everything happens for a reason. So maybe it was that time for you to just sit down and take a look at yourself and, figure things out. Wow.
right. Because I said, God, why would you allow me? I mean, I always talk to God, and I said, I was so angry at this point. I felt like I'm
Hmm.
not even going to be a believer anymore. I'm like, why would you allow me to go to jail, knowing that it was pretty much a guilty association more than I was? I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not any of that. And I
Hmm.
was really angry. And like I said, it was after 30 days when I mean, I'm in a
Wow.
maximum state prison. Okay. I'm in maximum state prison, the prison that you see on Snap. One of the prisons that you see on Snap, and people are there, who
Mm.
they've killed, and they've on death row. And I mean, I'm like,
Right.
God, this is not for me. Like, why would I be here? So it was after those 30 days where I realized it, and I was able to come out. And I learned so much. And how I knew being a mentor and motivational speaking was for me, and just being an inspiration, is that the women in prison, we're talking I'm talking women that are 20 years older than me, 10, 20 years older than me. These women in prison were, when I look back at, there was
Hmm.
like a little notebook that they signed, and they wrote like things for me to look at when I go home. And I remember opening that, and I was like, there's no way these women feel this way about me. They were just telling me how the whole time I was there, how I
Oh,
inspired them, and how I inspired them to be better, and how I gave them a better outlook on life. And I'm like, me? Like,
to
because I
that. You were
wasn't
just being
trying to do
you.
that. I just was
Right.
being myself. But right, I was being myself. But I guess just being myself, and the way I would talk to them, and they would ask me advice, or we would just have conversation, inspired them. And I remember nixing that off. Like, there's no way I could be that. I don't even want to do that anymore. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to inspire people. I don't want to motivate people. I'm not a good role model. I was like, I don't
Oh.
want to be a role model. I felt like I wasn't worthy of being a role model because of all the things that I went through, and the times that I failed, and the times that I
Hmm.
felt like I failed my children. I'm like, I don't want to be a role model because people are going to
Right,
expect me to
right.
be
And that's
perfect.
not all the time what it is.
But I realized that
Exactly,
wasn't the case.
exactly. And
Right.
sometimes you're inspiring people and don't even know it. Like today, who say we would have crossed paths for you to share this story with people you probably never would have even, on my end, you're probably inspiring somebody right now that you
Right.
never
Right.
thought in a million years that you would. So this is awesome, Tanisha. And like I said before, like you said, everything happens for a reason. So had some of those things didn't happen,
Does.
you never know where you would be today. So yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I said. That's how I look at it. I'm like, okay. Even in like my first relationship, um, my very first like deep relationship, I
Mm.
experienced domestic violence. And um I didn't even know, how you hear about domestic violence, and you may even sometimes see it. And I always said to myself, how
Right.
do women
Yeah.
get themselves involved in that? Because I felt like, oh, the first
I'm
time someone puts
leaving.
their hand on me, they're done.
Right.
That's not the case. Right. And then I ended up getting into it. And then I was so deep into it, and I was like begging God. I remember, like I said, I know I've shared this before. I remember like talking to God and I feel like he's not hearing me. I got to write this down. Maybe I got to write it down. I remember 19-year-old me writing down a letter to God, like
Wow.
to help me. Like, how did I get into it? Because I fell so deep into the relationship that I didn't see who he was. And then it wasn't until after I already was in the relationship that I experienced the manipulation, the being possessive, and then came
Mm.
the hitting. And I took the hitting as he was like fighting me. I didn't really take it as abuse. I
Really?
don't,
Really?
still to this day, I really can't tell you. Yeah, I just took it as like we argued and he hit me and I hit him back and we went back and forth. And, you know, he would always be so apologetic. So it was really rough for me because I felt like I was in
Mm.
the world by myself. I felt like, okay, because my grandmother, when I told my grandmother, she was like, told you so, because she kind of identified it before I even really got into the relationship. Like old school. So she's like, I told you, he's no good, you know? So I'm the oldest sibling. So it wasn't like I had other siblings to go to talk about it
Right.
to. I didn't really have lots of friends. I'm a real stick to myself type person. And then I was almost embarrassed to talk to anyone outside of that, you know?
Oh.
So I
Yeah.
never got help with it. I just dealt with it. And then it got worse and worse and just it took, like I said, for me to go to prison, for me to realize my worth. Like, wait a minute,
Right.
he was abusing me this whole time. I know it sounds so crazy, but it wasn't until I went to prison I said, he was abusing me. He was
Mm.
manipulating me. He was playing on my kindness. Like it
Wow.
all hit me. Um, and it wasn't easy when I was released. All the things, you know, everything is always easier said than done. So all the things that I wrote from prison, by the way, I'll be
Oh
celebrating 10 years
wow.
in
Okay.
December. All the things that I thought that I would do, I did accomplish it, but it took a while. So I was released from prison when I was 20, I want
Mhm.
to say 24. Yeah, 24, right. 24. And I thought it took a while. It didn't take a long time, but it took about 3 to 4 years. I'm 33 now. It took about 3 to 4 years for me to really stand firm on things, like letting people
Right.
go, not dealing with my children's father anymore, not dealing with this person. I was attracted to
Mhm.
guys that were no good for me. I know women, I know if some women
Right.
on here can all relate that we like the ones who are
Right.
aggressive and thuggish and, you know, no good for you and
Yeah.
no job,
Yeah.
you know how it goes. But those were the examples that were set for me. All of my uncles were drug dealers in and out of jail. My dad was a drug dealer in and out of jail. And for some reason, to me, I don't know. I just felt like no one could take me serious that's a
Right.
corporate person or someone who's of anything
Staying from
because
where
they're
you
not going
came
to
from.
understand my
Right.
life. So I literally always, right, they're not going to understand me. I thought I got to be with someone that can relate. Maybe I could be with someone who's like me, but also wants
Right.
to strive
Right.
for the better. Those are
Mm.
all the wrong perceptions, but you have to understand I'm navigating
Right.
through life by myself. I have no dad to tell me right or wrong. I have no mom to
Mm.
tell me right or wrong. Had no like I only had one cousin who I consider her my aunt when I was younger, who would always willing to listen to me and not like allow me to vent and kind of help me through some parts of life. But sometimes
Mhm.
I wouldn't go to her things. But I felt
Oh.
very alone and I had to figure it out. And I thought to myself, I cannot allow
Right.
children to feel this way. I can't allow these children to do this. Even if I could save only a few. So the mentoring program that I do,
Mhm.
I talk at a middle school. I go to the middle school because I feel like it
Right.
kind of starts there. So I talk to them. I teach them how to recognize manipulation from parents, even with their family members. I teach them about
Mhm.
even like molestation.
Right.
Those things are not talked
Right.
about
Right.
in school
At all.
at all. it's like, oh, we can't talk about that
Yes, you
at
can.
school. Well, yes, you can. And I think you should. If you teach people, if you teach these kids that molestation doesn't look like a stranger molesting you,
Yeah.
it could be uncle, cousin, brother, sister, neighbor. They don't teach the kids that. So they can get easily caught up in someone pretending all about them and be there for them their times of need,
Only to do
only
right.
to do, you know,
Mm.
the next step. So I teach molestation, I teach about manipulation, I teach about, you know, toxic parents, toxic family members, because I have a lot of the girls who say
Hmm.
they don't get along with their mom, and they kind of, and Prima, you wouldn't believe how many moms are in
Mm.
competition with their children, and how many moms
Oh my
choose
God.
men over their children, and how many, you know, for me, for my mom, I love my mom to death, and I still talk to my mom daily, and I have respect for my mom because my
Right.
mom was an addict, and at least it was out loud and clear. I'm an addict, I'm struggling. She
Hmm.
still struggles to this day. However, it's the moms that want to pretend to be a good mom, and they keep their children, they take them through things, but really they're not addicts, but they're like
Right.
strung out over guys, and they're, you know, they rather party every weekend, and instead of
Mm.
pouring into their children and talk to them. So I try to help the girls realize and talk them through it and what to
Right.
do in situations like that,
That's I noticed
you
just
know,
from
things
us
like that.
speaking,
Yeah,
you get a lot of people that say they're mentors or, motivational speakers, but you rarely hear individuals that speak about things that no one wants to address. It's the normal things, well, not normal, but it's not about, like you said, molestation or
right,
parents or family. That's kind of stuff people stray away
yeah,
from and focus on the
right,
strangers or, so kudos to you, Tanisha. Yeah.
right,
Wow.
right. Right. I well, right. And I don't remember, like, when I went to school, they came and they talked about
Right.
dare, they talked about
Mhm.
drugs and things like that. And it's like, let's really talk
Exactly.
about what's going on. Let's really talk about what these children will face
Mm.
throughout their life. Let's, because guess what? I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like women and children are the most targeted
Yes, I
people
agree
in America,
100%.
for me,
I agree 100%.
because people prey on the weak, but you have
Right.
lots
Right.
that are. And let Tommy, say, coming down the street looking good, smell things, get with, let's say,
Hmm.
uh, Jessica has a child. Tommy's whole
Right.
motivation is to get to
Exactly.
Jessica's child. He sees that Jessica is a weak individual. So he's going to go with Jessica and play Jessica and do everything right, and say everything right
Mm.
just to get next
Right.
to the child. But those are things that people don't want to talk about. Those are things that people don't realize. Those are things that just are not said. Those are things, and
Right.
even in our own community, and it's very sad, that
The
are
rug.
swept under
Absolutely.
the rug. Even when, I had an incident, and the reason why I feel so dear about this, because I had an incident when I was a child. Uncle that wasn't my
Mhm.
biological uncle. He had a child with my aunt, with my great aunt, and I would always trusted him. I would always see him, and hi uncle. I'd be like a kid, excited every time he'd see me. He'd buy my favorite fruit snack. I'm a little old school, so I used to like to play the picket, and I used to like to do the scratch offs. So, like, he would always do everything I liked. If I say I wanted a pair of sneakers and my grandmother couldn't afford it, he's like, "Oh, I'll get it. I'll get it." Well, guess what? That uncle, that great uncle, was only grooming me so that he
Right.
thought he
Ooh.
could touch
Mm.
me. So it came to the time where he thought he could touch me, but I
Right.
was not a kid. Like, when he did it, I already knew. I had an aunt who said to me, and I'm grateful for her, God bless her soul, rest in peace. She came to me and said that if anybody ever tried, I remember being like 4 or 5, and she explained to me that
Right.
there about pedophiles and molestation and things like that. And so I recognized what he was trying to do, not the part where he was grooming me. He asked me
Oh,
to
his
sit
lap.
on his
Ooh.
lap and give him a kiss. Now, I sat on my uncle's laps all the time, my grandpa, things like that. So that wasn't. But when he asked for the kiss, something in my spirit was like, I was nervous. I was scared. And I
Yeah.
thought, a kiss? So he did that. And I tried to give him like a quick kiss, but he like
Oh
pulled me in for
goodness.
like a closer kiss,
Yeah.
like a French kiss. And I thought, oh my God, like a part of me, a little piece of me died right there. I loved him. He was a great uncle to me, always, but I held the secret on only because I wanted to find the right time
Yeah.
to tell everyone. And I ended up telling a counselor
Oh
because he tried
gosh.
several times after that to like grope me some type of way. And I was only, I really can't remember the exact age, but I want to say I was anywhere between 9 and 11. And I remember telling my counselor what happened to me, and my counselor immediately got on it, called. But the saddest part of it all, to make the long story short, nothing was done about it. My aunt was an addict. My aunt was an addict, and one else was an addict, and everyone was dibbling dabbling drugs, and it was just like, it was never, listen, I'm sorry this
Wow.
happened to you, blah blah. Nothing was done. Family until the day he died, which like a couple years ago. So for me, I got through it. It bothered me for
Mm.
some years. Just, I think what bothered me the most is that
Right,
no,
right,
I think that my school tried to do something about it, and they couldn't really press charges if they couldn't. At that point there wasn't any
right,
like
right.
physical proof. It was just me against them, and
Wow.
whatever. So for me, absolutely this needs to be talked about, and I use my voice every chance I can to talk about it, and I use my
Mm.
voice to talk to children about it, boys and girls, because
Right.
you know
Wow.
so they don't ever ask me what I talk about in the school. So they just know that I'm a mentor. They like the way that I
Everything
just
you
talk about
can. Yeah.
everything that I can fit in.
Wow, Tanesha. Wow.
Every day every day I start off with, we start off in the class and I say, ask, and then they tell me and I say, now, how are you really doing? Like, what happened? How was the weekend? I talk to my girls individually. If I see that someone seems a little, reluctant to
Hmm.
share or seems something's wrong, I always go up to my, or I ask to speak to them to the side or after class, because I
Right.
want to know what's going on. I want them to talk to me. I want them to trust me. I want them to tell me, and they spill it. My dad, mom did this, my dad and my mom are divorced, and I try to really help them channel through
That's
all of that.
amazing.
So it's a passion of mine.
It really, really is.
Right.
Uh, I'm
Yeah.
kind of lost for words. When we spoke briefly, I
Yeah.
didn't think, you had all this in you, but it made such a great inspirational person. So again, kudos to you, Tanesha. Like, that needed to be said. I know someone on here needed to hear this because we have yet to speak about something to this caliber. So this is amazing. Continue to do what you do. Like, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate the platform. Oh, I'm just ready for a change, and I know that I
Right.
can't change the world, but I can change myself, and I
Exactly.
can do my
If
part. Um,
one
thank
little
you.
girl, two little girls, two boys, a girl, you touched someone and you made a difference in someone's life.
Right.
This is good.
Absolutely. And even my prison experience, technically you have to wait till 10 years. So you don't even
Mm.
know how anxious I am to get back to
To
that
speak.
prison, to speak and to motivate and to inspire and to help these women. Like, I'm itching to get back. So when my date comes up, I'm ready. Like, you can come back into the prison. If
Hmm.
you have an organization, if you're a speaker, anything, you can come, even though you've been there. I mean, it
Right.
has to be 10 years. You can even visit. the inmates and everything. And I know that I left my mark there, so that makes me really proud. And even though I didn't know I was inspiring others, I'm really
Right.
proud that I did. And I'm glad that God has
Mm.
given me this gift to where I inspire and
Exactly.
I don't even know, to where I uplift or motivate and I don't even know. I'm just talking. Um, so, like I'm eager to get back because that's another thing that I need to mark off. I ministry because no matter how hard, how convinced you are that once you leave that prison you're going to do better. I want to be able to do like that 2 months
Right.
here, and as positive as I am, and I'm not, I don't do drugs or I don't do anything to lead me astray, I still had such a
Mm.
struggle. And I want to let them know what to expect and all the hurdles that you'll
Right.
still have to get
Right.
over and all the things that you'll have to beat. I want to teach them how to get out and get on their feet and establish credit or fix credit, establish housing, or, teach them all about, you know, owning
Right.
property and different, all the things that they said we can't
Exactly. And
do
see what would make
as
you
ex felons
exactly.
and as being black.
And what would make you stand out? A lot of individuals
So
inside those walls probably speak to the therapist and things that can't relate, that wasn't actually there. So again, that may
they weren't
yeah, they
there.
weren't
They weren't
there.
there shooting in the gym. I say that all the time.
Exactly.
You weren't with me shooting in the gym. So you can't relate. Sometimes, like, with therapists, it's like, I could talk to you and yeah, you got your fancy degrees, but you can't relate.
Exactly.
I can relate.
Exactly.
I can relate and I can tell you I can't name one thing that I haven't been
Mm.
through in life. And I said to myself, I've been through so much, but I feel the storm is over
This is
and
your
this is my
time.
time. God did take me through. Yeah, I feel like God took me through a lot, but He was preparing me for
Absolutely.
today and for the day after, and just so a little bit about my cooking too.
Hmm.
So my cooking also, I when people eat my food, they're just like, you put a lot into this food. I'm like, I do, because the cooking is therapeutic for me. It all ties into my past life, and
Hmm.
everything has to be right. And I put so much into it, all my ingredients. I'm like, no, this has to be this. I can't
Right.
sub this for that. And I'm like, a lot of people say that my food is like a
Oh.
love language, and it is. It's my way of just like, I want you to feel comfort when you eat my food. I want you to feel loved when you eat that food. I want you to feel that type of hospitality, because let me tell you something, when you cook for someone, if you got a lot of love in you and you put
I
that
hear
into
that a
that food, they're going to feel
lot.
it.
That's
They're going to be
yeah.
like, oh, these yams are so good. It's true. It's true. It's very true. You can eat some yams, and what do you do? If you tap your foot, it's good, right? Because I know when I eat food and I get the tap of my foot, when I eat good food, I'll be like, when it's
Yeah.
good, I'll be in a whole nother world. I feel so good at the time.
Some people
I
be
feel like on a
humming. Some
natural
people
high.
hum.
I'm a foodie. So I be like, hum? Yes. I'm like, I be tapping. Sometimes I do hum. I've heard from my fiance that I make like a little moan. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I I don't, when I eat food, I really don't want to talk to anybody. So I'm not really the girl to go on a lunch date or a dinner date with.
Mhm.
If we are going to do that, it has to be something like
Right.
appetizers or
You need to
drinks,
eat your
because I
food.
need to eat my food. I need to feel everything. I can't talk to you. I'd be like, I can't even hear you when I'm eating. I'd be like, I might go, yeah, but I can't give you feedback, So when people eat my food, I used to do this a long time ago, and I just launched it again a couple months ago. And all the
Hmm.
love that I've been getting for that, and people saying like, girl, you put
Wow.
like your everything into this food. This is so good. It makes me feel so good because I know that
Right. You're
person
taking
put
your
a lot
time to
into it.
do it.
And I send out Yep, I give little cards with it, like
Oh,
a thank you, and I with a blessing, a small little message with it, because you just never. And I've heard that everyone's like, "Oh, we love the idea that you give these cards." Like
you're
I was told
personalizing
by
it.
someone that they were having a really rough day, just eating my food, and then the personal message was everything for them.
Is
I think that I'm tapping into what God wants, and that's why everything is just going so well.
right, right. And even with the cooking,
What were you gonna
you're
say? I'm sorry.
still no, even with the cooking, you're still giving some type of inspiration with those cards. So you're still in your calling. So that's good. But I did have a question. What I was going to
Right,
say
right.
with cooking with love, is that something that can be taught, or you just have to like cooking? Because one day I would love for you to show me how to cook something, but would I be cooking with love, being that that's not my passion? I don't know.
So you could I mean, you can cook. And it doesn't have to be your passion. It's not about the passion
Okay.
where the love comes in at it. It's about you
Into
just
it.
putting your
Okay,
all
that makes
into it.
sense.
Um, right, right. You kind of just putting your all into it. But for me, it's a passion, and I put my all. And when you bite into my food, I personally strive for that. Like when you
You
bite
ready
into
for
the
them to
food, like,
say?
oh my goodness, like no matter what you've been going through that day, when you bite into that food, you're gonna forget about the day you had, whatever was going crazy. Like that's the response. And just a background on my cooking. My grandfather, who raised me, was a professional
Okay.
chef for the Navy, and I could cook a three-course meal at
Wow.
the age of 9. Then when my grandfather got ill and no longer could cook because
Mm-hmm.
he was like the
You would
cook of the
step in.
family, I
Okay.
literally took that over. Oh yes, I will cook whole chicken, steak dinners, baked macaroni and cheese, collard greens, yams, everything. And
Wow.
it got to the point where on Thanksgiving, like I was just start taking over.
So
They
you could
showed
do the
me a couple
Thanksgiving
things, and
meal.
my grandfather's food was the same way. Oh
Oh
yeah,
wow.
oh yeah. My grandfather, when I would eat his food, even though, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I felt a little neglected from my grandparents, but like I said, they had a lot on their plate. My grandfather was ill, and it was just a matter of
Right.
time before he would pass from his illness. And my grandmother was taking, babe, can you put these balloons? Your balloons are hitting me in the face. Um, so I would feel the love that my grandfather, I mean, when I say he could cook, he would always on the weekends he had off make us like really big breakfast, like um eggs and steak and potatoes with like onions and peppers and
Oh
biscuits with great.
wow.
I mean, when I tell you, he would really cook, and I would just be so in love. I would be a kid, and I'd be waiting patiently for that, like be starving all day because he would cook all day and it wouldn't be ready till like 1 o'clock for breakfast. And he would have all this like Southern style food, and I just would just be sitting there just eating and just feel so good. And then you go
Right.
take that nap because you got a little food coma going on. And so I said, I want to cook like this. I told my grandpa, I want to cook like this. Like I want to make people happy. Like I would see the response. Like people all around the neighborhood would come
We're gonna get his
and get
food.
his food. And my grandfather also, and my grandmother, yep, they
Wow.
sold dinners.
Okay.
Back in the day, they sold dinners like on the weekend. So I just wanted to do that. And I knew it was my passion because when it comes to food, I'm definitely like a guru of food. Like I can put things together in my head. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it works with my taste buds. I can say, that's not going to work. Or if you put this without even trying it, I can say, if you put this, it's going to work. It's
Oh
going to
wow.
go good. I know. Like with my sweet potatoes, people love all my food, but I have like secret recipes. I do some of the traditional ways, but I have always
That you.
some ingredient that no one knows about. They try to like, oh, what is it? Like,
Right.
I've had yams before, but what's up with your yam? You
Oh,
know, yeah, it's a passion for mine, and I hope to maybe
right.
open up like a small based on soul food and unique dishes.
Okay, well that'll be
Coming
great.
soon.
And then one day
Yes,
when you're doing your motivational speaking, you can cater the
yes,
event, with your own food. Yeah.
absolutely. I feel like it goes hand in hand, like motivation, food.
Yes.
It's like it goes hand in hand. So I'm just really excited about this journey
I'm
that I'm
excited for
taking.
you.
That because I did fight it for a while, because I'm like, God, I can't talk to people. They're not going to listen. People are not going to believe me. People are not going to be receptive to all those fears that would feel, just as a normal human being. Like, you feel like it's just
Right,
not going to
right.
work. And doing my motivational speaking and the responses, like, just alone this week, I haven't spoke. I don't really do. I want to do more speaking
Hmm.
on my Instagram, my Facebook, like just daily little messages. Um, but like, when people randomly message me and tell me that you uplift me, you inspire, you motivate me, I'm just like, what? How? What am I doing? I'm just
Right.
sharing my post about my children or this or that. And it makes me feel really good. And I thought to myself, I gotta really start speaking more.
Yeah.
So,
They can tell
because
it's
I have so much to
genuine and that
say,
it comes from a good place.
I have
Yeah.
so much to say.
Before we yeah.
Absolutely. I
No, I was just gonna say I seen
mhm.
a lot of people that were
Go
chiming
ahead. What were you
in,
gonna
so I
say?
kind of wanted to go back in case it's something that they were asking you. Let's see.
Sure.
She said hello. Um, let's see. Nicole said start to label us. Probably were speaking about the school and the teacher. Alan said you would think it was just the
Yes.
South, but it's in New Jersey. Yeah, I would only think it was the South too. My sister said trouble's all over. Nicole said
Absolutely.
I'm from Jersey City and didn't experience racism until I moved
Absolutely.
here in the South. So yeah, she was from New Jersey, but she didn't experience until she moved here. Um, let's see. Someone said
Right.
April said uh-huh.
And you know what's funny to me? When I go to the
Hmm.
South, I tell my fiance, I was like, I love it here. Like, I was just in North Carolina for a wedding. Is that really
Yeah,
considered the
I would
South?
think so.
Like,
Hmm.
right? I would say it's considered South. Even when I went to like Georgia, I've been to South, like different places, and I love it.
Right.
Maybe because I don't live there. And I'm just like, oh, the hospitality is so good. The food's always on point. They know how to season the food. The tea is always sweet. That's the reaction I get when I go to the South. But I have heard of how
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Yeah, a few of us were really shocked to say you experienced that up north. Not saying it doesn't happen, but normally here. Someone said, I guess. Uh-huh.
Oh, it's bad. You know what I think?
Hmm.
You know what I think really is? I think it's hidden.
Oh.
I think it's hidden behind things, because when all the racism that I ever experienced, it was, I'm racist, but I'm not racist. It was like, I'm being racist to you, but I'm hoping you
Okay.
don't notice that
Oh
I'm being
wow.
racist to you. I hope you don't catch what I'm trying to say. I hope by me calling you dumb and you're only
You
nine or
wouldn't
10 years
catch it.
old, you don't
Yeah.
catch that I really don't care for
Wow.
blacks.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right. So you have to really like for jobs, I would get job offers, but it's no coincidence that all the white people get moved, and I'm so experienced and I'm such a good asset to the company, but I don't get
Hmm.
promoted. So what is that?
Right.
You know, I remember, working at a restaurant, and I kept asking to be a server, and there were so many excuses as to why I couldn't be a server. Guess what they wanted
Not
me
a
to do? And
not
do
a being a
only
bus boy or nothing like
stand
that.
stand at the door.
Oh.
No, I wasn't going to do that. They wanted me to greet and sit people.
Oh. In the hotel.
Well, you don't have a lot of experience, so if you could just, we think that you'll be good with just like greeting the
Mm.
people and sitting and showing them their seat. And I'm like, wait, but I have so much more potential in that. I started to get in the restaurant business because I wanted to be a server, and then I thought possibly when I wanted to manage a restaurant, that was like my thought
Right.
process at
Right.
that time. But every door they just kept trying to close in my face. Eventually, I got to where I needed to be. But why did it take me almost
To
two and
get
a half,
there.
3 years to get there? When I would see young girls that would be like 16 years old would come in, start out as a seater or a busboy, and within
They're already
three
up
to
there.
four months they're
Yeah.
a server. How does that
Yeah.
happen?
That definitely they were trying to.
And I only think only thing I could say is that the only difference between
Color
them and
your
I
skin.
was their
Yeah.
skin color. You can't explain that anyway. Another job I was at, I was having a lot of family issues with my family and my children. I was going through a rough time, and the guy literally said to me, "I'm gonna have to lay you off because, my employees, they have problems. They're not
Ooh.
problems like yours."
Wow.
And I was like mine, because it wasn't like a significant problem. I just had, my son was having like behavior problems. I would have
Right.
to like go to meetings and things like that. At one point in time, he had court, and I would have to like leave work early or come in later because of court. But
Wow.
problem like
Yeah.
mine, I realized
That was definitely
that was
racist.
racist,
A comment.
a
Yes.
racist comment.
Wow.
Um, when I tried to branch off to be an entrepreneur, I have people tell me like, "Well, I know you couldn't do what we do because it's really expensive. I mean, it's a lot of money to
Right.
own this
Wow.
building."
How do they
And
know?
I'm like, "How do you really tell someone that?"
Jeez.
You know what I said to my fiance? I go, "Do they have a
Right.
look into my bank account or something? Like, do they know my credit score or something?" Like, it was just mind blowing to me. I'm like, they got to know
Right.
something I don't know,
People
because
always judge a book by its cover for no
you know nothing
reason.
about me,
Yeah.
and you're telling me. And my thing is, it had to be racism, because I'm here, I'm driving a nice car, I have my own home, I possibly know what I can and cannot afford, or what type of buildings I could own or not own.
Right. I
I'm
don't
here, but
understand
I
why.
think
I
like
don't
I think
understand
it's
it.
hidden.
I think we never will completely understand a racist person's train
Yeah,
of
it's a
thought. I
color.
mean, like, I don't know. It's sad.
They know that they're privileged,
Mm.
and that's the bottom line. They know that they're privileged. They feel like they can talk to you any type of way. They feel like they can throw in the little
Mm.
sneak disses. They feel like they can do that because
Yeah.
they're privileged. So it's like, no matter what, I'm always going to be right and you're always going to be
That's
wrong.
sad.
I could walk in with an idea and get a loan. You could walk in with an idea and
Right.
get denied.
Right.
And that's just kind of how it is. And that's also something
Mm.
that I teach. Everything that I go through,
You want to
I
share it?
teach it to
Yeah.
children, so that even if they don't grasp it now, maybe when they get older, say, "Oh
They're
my
gonna
goodness, I
remember
remember I had
exactly.
this mentor, her name was Miss
Hmm.
Tanesha, and she told me." Yeah, when they get in that first domestic relationship, God forbid they don't. I pray they don't. They're gonna be like, "Wait a minute, Miss Tanisha
Right.
told me that I would experience a sign. This is a sign. Like, this is something Miss Tanisha talked about. This is a red flag.
Exactly.
I should leave now."
Exactly.
Things like that. So I
Just
really,
kidding.
I
Don't forget your 5:30.
I the whole turning the
Hmm.
pain to passion. I am even, because like I said, I've been through so much. So to that, I continue to
Right.
strive, and the way that I continue to not take no for an answer, and the way I continue to, I can
You can
open
open
them
them. Yes, absolutely.
myself. Um, and yeah, you don't have to. And if a door is closed, I take it as that's God saying that's not
Right.
for you. I have something better. I believe that if God closes 10 doors, He's opening 20
Absolutely.
more.
Absolutely.
So that's just kind of my thing. And I also wanted to say just to everyone
Hmm.
really quick, I noticed a lot that when you're striving to be better and you're striving to be an entrepreneur or anything that you're striving to do, I noticed that a lot of people talk about not having
Hmm.
support. So I just want to say this
Okay.
really quick. The only person that should support you is you.
Absolutely.
The only person you should count on is your support is you. The moment you hold everyone else to, maybe you have high expectations for everyone else, is where you'll
Right.
be disappointed.
Absolutely.
You cannot, it doesn't matter their title, mother, father, brother, sister, and you feel like, well, they should support me. I'm their blood. I love them. Blah, blah, blah. I did this for them. I did that. And I think that's another disappointment, is when you've done something for
What you
someone
expect.
and you're
Hmm.
like, well, now it's my turn. They're not doing
Right.
it for me. You're not, you're expecting the same. And I say to myself, when I do things for people, I do it out of love. I do it out of the kindness in my heart.
So
I'm
you don't
genuine with
expect
it, so I don't
anything.
expect anything back. If I bought a pair of shoes from you, If I bought a pair of shoes from you and now I'm launching a business and you don't even buy a pencil from me, I'm not going to feel some type of way because obviously God appointed me to do that because you
Exactly.
needed it more than
Exactly.
me.
100%.
You needed it more than me. So God put it on my heart to support you. I don't need you to support me, and I'm not going to feel some type of way
Me.
because you're not
Right.
supporting me. And then here's another thing. Some people don't clap for you. Think about this. They can't clap for themselves.
For
They
themselves.
can't even clap for
Wow.
themselves. So what makes you think they can
Okay.
clap for you? They can't even motivate themselves to get up out of the bed and to do habits. And sometimes there may be some type of
Mm-hmm.
jealousy because you're doing
Want to do.
all that they
That's a
want to
good way to
do
look at it.
and they can't do it. So they can't bring themselves to congratulate you or to be happy for you.
Wow.
They can't motivate
Motivation.
themselves. You think they're going to
Right.
motivate you?
Absolutely.
You think they're going to, right? You think they're going to cheer you on? They're not. They're not.
Wow.
So I feel so bad when I see people post about, oh, this person can't even repost my stuff, can't even watch my live, can't even buy this from it. You got to let that go. It's all false, false, false hope. You got to let that go. You got to just support yourself, be your number one cheerleader, be your number one supporter. And it's going to, if it's for you, God's going to make a way. It don't even matter if you go on
Right.
live and only 2 people is there. Guess what? God wanted those 2 people to see what you had
Exactly.
to say. So you don't have to worry about, everyone else. And I think that's just important. I really wanted to say that because and they have so much fear and starting a
Right.
business or just anything in general, like children. They want to play basketball, but they don't see mom in
Right.
the crowd.
Yeah.
They don't see dad in the crowd. They don't see anyone cheering them on. And yes, it's a sad thing, but even as children, we have to teach them.
You support
You
yourself.
support
You do it
yourself.
for you.
You tell yourself you
Yeah.
can do it and you do it.
Absolutely.
Do it for you. Don't do it for mom. Don't do it for dad. Don't do it for friends. Do it for you. And I just think that's really important because I think that's where a lot of people get let down and they don't try to go any further. They don't reach their goals. They don't try to be successful because they're so concerned about everybody else. And I just think the important part in life is to just clap
Right.
for yourself.
Right, right. That was well said, and that was well
Absolutely.
needed. To be honest with you, that was well needed. And again, Tanisha, this was an amazing segment. You said a lot, and I know people can feed off of it. I know people felt it. It was all genuine. One day, maybe you can teach me how to cook those yams without the secret recipe. But
Yes.
I appreciate you, Tanisha.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to tell you my secret recipe. I can do it where it's
Okay.
really good for you. I can. Maybe if I'm
South
ever, you're in
Carolina.
North Carolina, right? Are you in
Hmm.
South Carolina? Okay. Maybe if I'm ever in that area, Prima, I could
Okay,
come show
okay.
you personally. But I don't know if we can make it public. I could come show. I'm willing to come show you personally, and I hope that we can do something in the future because I like to now to my
Uh-huh.
motivational speaking and things. I would
Sure.
like to come out and maybe we can put something together. We can have some great foods. We could do some a
Oh, that
live sip
sounds
and talk,
good.
like where
Yeah.
people actually come there and we can eat and we can talk and we can laugh and we could cry and we could motivate.
Right. That sounds
Yes,
real good.
Felicia, she said the yams are dope. Her daughter loves them.
We can definitely set
So
that up in the
yeah,
future.
I'm so
Yes, me
open to
too,
that. So
definitely.
please, yeah, reach out to me. I mean, from here to South Carolina on a flight is like less than
Okay.
2 hours. So I was just out, we were there last year and we really enjoyed it. And this is my calling. This is what I'm ready to do. So wherever God
Okay.
leads me, I'm
Yes,
gonna go.
ma'am.
And yeah,
Okay.
so we could always set something up. I would love to come out there and talk to the younger generation and even young women and answer questions and
Right.
try to help them
We can
go
definitely
through
set that
some
up and
things.
I'll definitely keep in touch. I appreciate that offer. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing that with us today. I know a lot of people heard it, felt it. So thank you so much. Monday. Again, Tanisha, you rock. You're amazing. Kudos.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prima. If you could save this and send
I
it to
sure
me, I would
will. I'll get your
appreciate it.
information. I will.
Yo, Okay.
All right. Thank you. And what we say, peace and
All right.
love.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everybody. Bye
God
bye.
bless everyone. Yes.